Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me down there in Tequila, Georgia, my good friend, fellow University of North Georgia alumni, and the host of the Georgia Voice of College Football, Matt Green, is here. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. It's good to be back with you this week. We missed the folks on Monday, but obviously week one pick 'em, we're not going to miss that. So it's
no, but it also worked out just because with just the timing. But Monday was swamped, and this week it's just been with game week and all kinds of stuff going on here with Tennessee being back and radio show announcements, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of, you were on the show this past week too. So you making your radio hits here in Knoxville, Tennessee, Matt Green. So it's just jam packed, trying to fit it all in. I'm not sure if we are going to have time to even go to Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond. Not sure if there's gonna be enough time this weekend, Matt Green, to fit it all in, but we shall see.
We do have a nice little Saturday planned.
We do. Tennessee at noon, Georgia at noon. And
Georgia's at 3:30.
Oh, they're 3:30?
Yeah, I don't know if Georgia has a noon game the whole year.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe Kentucky. Yeah, if you look at Georgia's schedule, because most of the times are out. I think 9 or 10 of the times are already out.
Interesting. That would kind of annoy me. I like especially the bye games. You want those at noon. Like Marshall being at 3:30 is, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it conflicts with the with better games usually when it's later in the day. It's better than a night game. I always hate being that 7:45, and Georgia rarely is. It feels like LSU and Ole Miss get a lot of those 7:45 games versus McNeese State or something on SEC Network that nobody's watching. I hate waiting around all day for those games. Just looking at the start here. Austin PE is 3:30. Yeah, Kentucky's 12, and then Charlotte is 12:45. So I think those are the only ones. No, Mississippi State is also 12. 11 a.m. local start for that one. That could be a sleepy one in Starkville.
There you go. Well, Matt Green, week one is here. I'm elated. It's going to be a jam-packed football weekend for me, covering Marable and West on Friday here. Big powerhouse battle here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then Saturday morning, wake up with some college game day and a whole heck of a lot of big-time games. Tennessee playing right out of the gate, and just all kinds of great college football games from Saturday at noon all the way to Monday night. So we won't even be done with our pick-em this week. We won't be able to fully tally because we have North Carolina TCU playing on Monday night, and we will not have a score for them as of yet. So we'll have to add that in for our Wednesday show next week to get the most up-to-date point total here. But we have our 11 in our pick 'em.
The Monday game?
Yes, TCU, UNC.
And then we got a couple Sunday ones too.
South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and
Miami, Notre Dame.
Sunday. Notre Dame, Miami. Yeah. So there's all kinds of great games all weekend long, Matt Green. And it's just great. It's just great that it's back, and I'm very much excited to watch college football. Week 0 was a good little tease. I mean, I got to be dialed in on Hawaii's big time comeback win over Stanford late on Saturday night, and we got some slot fest of Kansas State, Iowa State overseas in Ireland. But it was good Saturday. Kansas rocking the new venue over there, David Booth Stadium, if I recall. So that was cool jumping in there when they beat up on Fresno State. But football is back, and it's a great time. Feels like fall this week, which is also great. I know it does in Georgia as well. Talking to fam and checking in on them this week, and they're like, "Yeah, it feels like fall." I'm like, "Yeah, it feels like fall here, man. It's 50 degrees when you're waking up. It's pretty nice, Matt Green. I've missed it."
Don't fall for it, sir. It'll get hot again, but it feels great right now. It's a great time of the year. I'm excited.
It's also a great time of the year if you're a Marshall Thundering Herd, Matt Green, before we dive into our week 1 pick'em, because Georgia Marshall did not make our pick'em. No offense to Tony Gibson and the Fighting Herd, but I think Georgia is in good shape there. What is that line? Like 39.5, I want to say, something like that.
Yeah.
But here's what he said. Katron Evans, who's defensive lineman for Marshall this week. Quote, "I feel like the first week is the best time to have them. them being Georgia, because we don't know what they expect out of them, and they don't really know what they expect out of us, because we're a whole new team, 60 plus new players. So it's like the best time to have Georgia, especially being that we're a group of 5 school and they're SEC.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, this team has 56 guys transferred out, 50 transferred in. I think 21 of those transferred to Southern Miss with Charles Huff and what, like, the whole coaching staff. I just think the biggest thing I looked at, like, in terms of like an actual like breaking down of the game, is that this team gave up like 180 yards on the ground last year a game. And it's like this run defense doesn't seem like something that's going to be better when you like overhaul the entire roster. You know what I mean? That seems like something you kind of got a couple of years of like a solid core, like your front seven or something. So, you know, it wasn't good a year ago. So maybe a bunch of new bodies will make it better. But yeah, I think they're one of those. Obviously, they won the Sun Belt last year. So like they should be confident. But I mean, when it comes to a brand new roster at that level, you know, maybe, you know, an FBS team in Indiana that's overhauling their roster with a new coach, it's like a positive momentum, you know, like we're bringing in guys we want to this better school. Like it feels like Marshall, their coach left them, so they kind of had to scramble. So it's like, and then the roster overhauled, so it's like it doesn't feel like the same type of dynamic like that. So I personally, because it is game one, you know, Georgia might not be the sharpest, you know, they're going to be right out of the gate. I don't know if I would put 39.5 on Georgia. Like this could easily be a game that gets off to a slow start, but I mean, I'm sure Georgia end up winning easily, but I don't know. 39.5 seems like a lot. I think the score I picked was like 38-10 or something like that. I think it'll be like an easy win, but I mean, if Georgia goes out there and drops 50, like that's great. Cause I mean, I'm sure if they're not in double digits by the end of the first quarter, half the fan base is going to want to fire Mike Bobo. So we'll just, we'll see what happens. Hopefully this offense is a lot more explosive, because I think that's been the talk of the whole off season, is how different this receiver group is and how they're going to change this offense. And another thing, like Monroe Freeling, another thing about him is that we haven't really talked about is apparently he got surgery 2 days after the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame and was out like 6 months. So it's like, that's a guy who is probably not healthy playing down the stretch for Georgia. And maybe he's healthy and he looks more like the 5-star he was coming out of high school. So Georgia's offensive line could be a lot better, even though they lost 3 guys who I think are all starting in the NFL this upcoming year. Ratledge, Fairchild, and Jared Wilson. I think all 3 of those are going to be starters year one. So it's hard to think they're going to be better losing 3 NFL starters, but surely they're not going to have the 15th best run game in the SEC this year. Not to call you Shirley, but
we'll see. Ernest Green, need a big year from him.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I want to see. Gunner looking good, not turning the ball over, and the receivers making some explosive plays, and an easy win. I think most Georgia fans be pleased with that.
Are you going?
I will not be there.
Okay. Are you planning on a game this fall?
I don't have tickets for one to this point, but I mean, I always end up at a couple, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. It depends on what I can justify in my bank account, my checking account and the savings. The way it's set up. The Alabama and Texas tickets are insane right now, but who knows?
Yeah.
By the time it gets here, I think the Tennessee game last year, it was like Thursday or Friday. I was like, dude, I got to go to this game. This could be a night game. Let's do it. So we'll see what happens.
There you go. Matt Green, week 1 pick'em. It's time to kick things off. Another season of our pick'em. I believe year 5. Did you look through? This is year 5 of our pick'em, I believe.
Yeah, I believe this is year 5. I had it pulled up here. Yeah, 2021 was the first year. Let's see who won last year. So
I won last year.
Yeah, overall, You were 120 and 58.
Mhm.
My 117 and 61. But against the spread, you were I got you against the spread.
Yeah, you got me against the spread. I remember that.
88, 89 and 1 I was against the spread. So man, just one game up below 500. We got to see bounce back from that. And then you were 2 games on you. You went 86, 91 and 1. So, we'll bounce back for the folks. You were 57% in 2023 and I was 51%. So, I'm right about 50% the last 2 years. So whatever that's worth. Also, Zeus went 14 and 10 with his home dog of the week last season. So Zeus will continue to give the people winners. Zeus hit at a 70% clip in 2023, and then oh man, I don't have the formula in there, but whatever 14 out of 24 is, someone could do the math there. That seems like an easy.
He's still making people money.
12 out of 14 would be 50%. So what is that? Like 55% or something? Yeah, get it done.
I mean, I've heard Zeus is in the best shape of his life. You were talking about in this offseason. Like, Zeus is in good form here. So I'm expecting big things from Zeus. And, Tori and the Sports Renaissance woman here, they should be in favor of you and I going to Harris Cherokee Casino or whenever, because we're right there in the middle. Like, that's exactly where you want to go as a spouse. You're like, look, honey, like, I'm right there. I'm even Steven, like Jerry Seinfeld, where it always evens out. Like,
I don't think it's exactly where you want to be. You'd like to be above.
No, that's when you get greedy. You want to be right there, like, you make a couple bucks, lose a couple bucks, and you're right there. You want to be in the middle.
Win enough to have fun, lose enough to be like, I shouldn't do this more than I currently do.
Correct. Yeah,
that's fair.
That's what you want. That's where you want to be. Matt Green, let's kick things off with Texas, Ohio State at the Shoe. Ohio State, a 1.5 point home favorite. What say you about this big time game that I'm not going to be able to watch live because Tennessee is playing Syracuse at the exact same time?
You're not going to have a 2 TV setup watching both of these games?
I cover Tennessee professionally. Like, it's part of my job in my day. Like, Tennessee is getting every snap and every view of my time from 12 to 3:30.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I would have the 2 TV setup personally, but you do you. That's to teach their own. I really struggle with this game. Like part of me, like all off seasons, wants to feel like Texas is overrated, right? I feel like just nationally, I feel like that's probably what most of the country thinks, is that they're overrated and Arch is overrated and getting too much hype. And I feel like I'm on that side. If we have to choose two camps, like, I'm on that side of questioning Texas, how legit they are and how legit Arch is, versus give him the Heisman right now, So, like, this first career, it's not his first career start, but it's essentially his first career start. I think he started against an FCS school and Mississippi State last year, like literally the worst team in the SEC. So, worst defense in the SEC also. So this is really first career start. Like, the guy basically didn't play in the SEC championship versus Georgia. I think he came in for that one play where they did a little direct snap, like, through his legs. You remember that? He like came up to the center, and then we saw him come in against Georgia. Like, that was the one, like, real, like, live action. I mean, he had the run against A&M. He was used a little in that, like, Tebow, like, running kind of backup quarterback role. But when we saw him actually come in for Ewers against Georgia, and this was a Georgia defense that did not look dominant at all last year, he looked completely lost. And, that's just one game that he was not prepping to be the starter or anything, but he did not look like a future Heisman winner. So he's going to, and that's at home, that's in front of a Texas crowd. To go in Ohio State, the first basically start of your entire college career, against a team that's going to look very different than they did a year ago. I don't know what either of these quarterbacks. That's what the most exciting thing I am for this game is, just to see, are one of these quarterbacks going to be like the best quarterback in college football? Like, if that happens, these two teams, who knows how good they could be? I tend to think we're going to get kind of a more, like, we do have 2 first-year starting quarterbacks, and this is we're feeling them out. We still got dudes on defense on both sides, even if we lost some guys. So, at the end of the day, Ohio State has the best offensive player in college football and probably the best defensive player in college football. And I feel like that it puts the edge. They're at home. I feel like these do feel like two teams that are exactly equal that could play again later in this season, and the result could go differently. But I think I give the edge to Ohio State. I'm going to Ohio State 20-17.
Interesting. I didn't think you were going to go Ohio State here. So
I really don't know. I've been going back and forth.
So there is a whole lot of stuff here to this game. It's just going to be such a big time contest. I still think this is one of those games where I think the fallout is there's going to be a lot of people who post right after this game, whoever wins. Oh, this used to be this would have been such a problem in the 4-team playoff era for the team that lost this game, but it doesn't matter who loses this game because we're still expecting them both to make the 12-team playoffs. So the loss doesn't feel as huge. But I also think this is going to be a great game. Like I don't see a scenario to me where this is not a great back and forth. Obviously, two of the most expensive rosters, two of the best recruiters, two of the best offensive minds in the sport, and Day and Sark. But new coordinators for Ohio State, Brian Hartline, first time calling plays in this game against Texas's elite pass defense, one of the best pass defenses in college football last year. They're going to be one of them again. Jeremiah Smith was shut down in this last game. So are they going to be able to do that again in this game? Is Carnell Tate and company going to be able to light Texas up if Jeremiah Smith has his struggles against the Longhorns again? I don't know, but Texas has one of the best defensive coordinators in sport. They also have a lot of continuity. They made a good point on CBS Sports, the Cover 3 podcast, about the continuity versus what Ohio State's dealing with Patricia and Hartline. Like Texas has kept their coordinators. Like that staff's been mostly kept together since Sark got there. And I think that's a big part of this. I also think there's so many interesting, dominant traits going into this game. Ohio State, this is from CBS Sports, quote, since Ryan Day took over as head coach in 2019, Ohio State is 37-3 straight up in home games, which trails only Alabama, who had 38 for the most home wins in college football. That's huge. But then I would also throw out that Texas has won 11 straight road games. And guess what, Matt Green? That's the longest streak in FBS. So something has to give here, where Ohio State's been really good outside of Michigan protecting their home field, and Texas has been road warriors. They've been really good on the road, and someone who's not going to be shaken by walking into the shoe and are not going to be intimidated in this environment. I don't know. I think it's interesting because Quinn Ewers is not good in the red zone. Texas was 54th in the red zone touchdown percentage a year ago. So not right, kind of close to the middle of the pack in FBS. And I think if you want to win this game, you're going to have to convert in the red zone with touchdowns against Ohio State if you want to win there. And then Ohio State lost so much to the draft. Not kind of like Michigan 2 years ago, Matt Green, where they lost everything went right. They won it all. And then they lost a whole bunch of people. They were still in the top 15, 17 in roster, but it was still a bunch of young guys who haven't played, not a bunch of NFL ready guys. And I think that's what Ohio State's dealing with, 14 players in the draft. That was the most of anybody in the draft last year, came out of Ohio State. So they're replacing a whole lot of production, both running backs, their quarterback. They're replacing multiple offensive linemen. They're replacing multiple defensive linemen. It's just, I don't know. Caleb Downs might be the best defender in this game. Jeremiah Smith might be the best offensive player in this game. And I just still think there's just too many question marks. I don't like this. I don't like Ohio State having to start their year with somebody like Texas here. It's not going to be super cold, so that's not even going to be in their favor, where it's just kind of bitter conditions for Texas to walk in there. I think this is just going to be a casual game that Texas just wins. And I think they're just going to win outright in the shoe. I think Arch has a good day here. And I think Ohio State really is bumpy offensively with a redshirt freshman and Julian Sayin, where that's a lot of pressure on this kid right out of the gate against Texas. I don't like any of this. Arch has sat for 2.5 years. I think they're going to be pretty good here. And I think they're going to make a statement in week 1. So give me Texas 30, Ohio State 20. I'll do 20. I think Texas wins by double digits here.
What was that? 30.
Let's do 30-20.
30-20. Okay. Yeah, I think the fact that historically, if you look at this run, 3 years in a row, if you go at Alabama, at Michigan, at Ohio State, 3 years in a row and win all 3 of those, that's pretty big time right there. So I don't know. I think it's Ohio State at the end of the day. everything you're saying about the question marks. Like, I think Ohio State and Georgia are in such similar positions right now. I think Ohio State may have lost better players, some better players than Georgia did a year ago. I guess, although that's kind of debatable, I guess, when you look at the NFL draft, but it's they both lost really good players, and they're not many teams. I would say those two in Alabama are the only two that you would really like. Yeah, they're question marks because we don't know who they are. We don't know their names yet, but we know that they're some of the elite coming out of high school, and it wouldn't surprise you if they're elite playing at the college level.
Yeah. Well, Magrin, we disagree out of the gate here. Next up, Nebraska.
Hold on, last thing. Who are you rooting for in that game?
I'm not rooting for anybody.
I don't know. I maybe it's Texas. A lot of times I root for the SEC in some of these non-conference matchups, depending on who they are, you know. But I don't know. Texas is like new. It's like I feel like I'm rooting against them. I don't know. Maybe I just don't want Arch to
not rooting for Ohio State
to be the greatest player ever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have to root for teams to like enjoy the game. So I don't think I'll be. I don't know. I don't think I'll be.
No, that's fair. But sometimes you just find yourself pulling for someone. You're usually just rooting for a good game. But
yeah.
I don't know. Like then you usually once the game starts, you're like, oh yeah, I would rather Clemson lose this game. Yeah, you know, whoever it is.
Next up, Nebraska, Cincinnati. Cincinnati 6.5-point home dogs. Is this where we see Zeus out of the gate here, Matt Green?
Absolutely not. You think a dog supports a bear cat, sir? Dogs and cats do not get along. Apply that to bear cats. I think Cincinnati's been bad the last 2 years. And I feel like Nebraska is going to take a step. Cincinnati hasn't been bad the last 2 years.
See, that's the thing is they're not bad. They're just mid. They're just not a CFP
bowl games both years, right?
They haven't been bad though. You go through the stats, like Brendan Sorsby, we're going to talk about. Like he might be the better quarterback in this game between him and Raiola, especially on the ground. Like he's a really good running quarterback. I mean, he's 8-16. Scott Satterfield through 2 years. They were 5-7 last year. I would say they were bad in 23. Yeah, 3-9, 1-8 in the Big 12. But last year, I wouldn't say they were bad. I think they were average last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're missing bowl games. You're below average, but
the offense had juice last year. Like the offense at Cincinnati last year had juice.
I think Nebraska probably takes a step forward this year and could be better than they were a year ago. So I expect Nebraska to take care of business. I'm going to say what is it? 6? You said
it is 6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I think Nebraska. I got 30-21. Nebraska wins and covers.
Yeah, Nebraska got a good shot to start off really hot out of the gate here with their schedule and the way it aligns for them. But Cincinnati was 38th in home games defensively last year, which is pretty interesting. I still think Sorsby, like Raiola, has to show it. And I mean, he was really good down the stretch for new OC Dana Holgorsen. I think that was a sneaky, huge hire for Matt Rule with this offense. He completed 72% of his passes. He almost threw for 1,000 yards in his final 4 games with Holgorsen after the coordinator change. So good sign there that Raiola is going to be able to potentially cook here with Holgorsen, but Dane Key coming in, a lot of other talented wide receivers. So there's a lot of reason for optimism, I should say. But I do think Sorsby is a really good player. Like he's a good running quarterback. He flashed a little bit. I don't think he's gonna be like a Heisman guy, but I do think Brendan Sorsby is one of the maybe more underrated. There's just a lot of good quarterbacks, I should say, in the Big 12. Like there's just everywhere you look, the Big 12, I would say probably has the best collection of quarterbacks anywhere in the conference or any of the other Power 4. I would take the Big 12's quarterbacks over any other conference right now. There's just a lot of good players in this conference. But Cincinnati, one of the things that's interesting here is they're 5-15 since moving up to the Big 12, and 2 of those wins were against Houston and UCF. It hasn't gone well since the move up in this regard against Power 5 teams. So they're really struggling there. Nebraska though was 64th in road passing defense last year. So the passing defense wasn't great on the road. So maybe Sorsby could do some stuff against Nebraska, who has a new DC. Phil Snow comes over, longtime Matt Rule lieutenant, because Tony White went on to Florida State. But I do think it's interesting because Sorsby, man, he was second on the team in rushing yards for Cincy last year. He led the team in touchdowns with 9 rushing touchdowns, threw for almost 300 yards, 3,000 yards, that is. I don't know. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. I think that's why this line's only 6.5. I think Nebraska wins, but I do think Cincinnati gives them a whole lot more problems than people are anticipating. I like Nebraska to win, but I think Cincy covers. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like down to the wire. Give me Nebraska 34, Cincinnati 31.
All right, put it on the board.
Next up, Matt Green, Auburn, Baylor, big time Friday night game, 1 of 2 here that I also don't love is at the same time as Georgia Tech, Colorado, because I would like to watch both of these. I'll probably go back and forth with these two once I get back.
Oh, I didn't realize Georgia Tech, Colorado was a Friday.
Yeah, they're both Friday at 8:00.
Oh, nice.
I
will say, for all the things that people say about ESPN, when they're in charge of the games, they build a great schedule. It's when the Fox and ESPN games conflict with each other. That's when we have problems.
Well, there you go.
That's all I got. I'll get off my soapbox.
Baylor, 2.5-point home dogs. Matt Green, I have Baylor winning the Big 12. Big game here for the Bears out of the gate for Dave Aranda's crew. What say you?
You know how I feel about a weekday road game, sir. I don't like it. I think I'm really struggling with this game, to be honest, because I'm not a believer in Baylor like you are. I mean, they could be good, but I'm not thinking they're winning the Big 12 or anything. And Auburn is such a wild card team that I have no idea. Like, are they sandbagging in is this like some sort of like ploy, like to everyone thinks that they're having like a meltdown in practice. Like, they don't know who's calling the play. What do they have, a first down, a second down, and like a third down play caller or something? And then all this stuff about Jackson Arnold, and Deuce Knight was a big time recruit coming out, so like maybe they go to him. I don't know. It feels like there's so much uncertainty around Auburn, but I feel like Auburn thrives in uncertainty, in this chaos. And I feel like the playmakers are just going to be better than Baylor's playmakers. Like, maybe Jackson Arnold can't, but I feel like this defense was underrated a year ago. Like, I feel like people kind of forget that. They lost like five different games where they allowed like less than 20 points or less than 24 points or something. So this defense was not the problem a year ago. If they're even a little bit better offensively, like, they could be an actual good competitive team this year. I'm going to hedge my bet here. I'm going to say Auburn wins this 22-21. So I think that means I would have to pick Baylor against the spread, right? Because Auburn's favored. Yes. So yeah, I'm hedging there a little bit, but I think it's going to be a sloppy game, maybe similar to what we've seen Auburn versus Cal the last couple years. But I don't know. I think there's something. I think they're going to be a little bit better this year. So give me the Tigers to go on the road on a Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a close game, but definitely I think this is going to be a back and forth deal. I think you might have a whole lot of craziness in this one. This is Baylor's moment, though, to show that they are for real in the Big 12. I think this is a terrible spot for Jackson Arnold to debut in on the road here in Waco. But Baylor was 10th in touchdowns last year offensively. Auburn 120th in turnover margin. If they get in a turnover happy hole here with Jackson Arnold, like, this game can get ugly in a hurry, because Baylor has the kind of offense that can really put Auburn in a blender early and often. So for me, if Jackson Arnold has a turnover issue, or Auburn is not able to clean up their turnover margin issues from a season ago, then Baylor's going to win this comfortably. And this one might get ugly for Auburn. So I don't love Jackson Arnold in this spot. I'm just not a Jackson Arnold guy at this point. Sire Robertson, I think, is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 and all of college football this year. I think he's going to put up big time numbers with him and Jake Spavital sticking around as OC. But one of the things that I do think is in Auburn's favor is Baylor was only 84th in sacks last season. So part of the reason Jackson Arnold struggled so much, especially like in games like the Tennessee game where he was just running for his life and big time defensive lines were getting after him, Baylor doesn't have the defensive line and the sack rate that they're going to be able to potentially really mess with Jackson Arnold. So he might have time in this game. And what does Jackson Arnold look like with time in this scheme with Hugh Freeze. So
he got
we shall
benched
see.
in that
Baylor was
Tennessee
10th
game, right?
Say it again.
He got benched in that Tennessee game, right?
Yes, he did. And Baylor was 10th nationally in drives that ended with a touchdown. So they were really good at when they got the ball, they didn't settle for field goals, punts, whatever. Like Baylor was one of the 10 best teams in the country last year offensively that made sure that their drives ended with touchdowns. Auburn was 100th. Auburn did not end a lot of drives. They were one of the worst teams in college football, ending their offensive drives with touchdowns. I just think it's a lot to clean up, especially early on from a season ago. And I don't think Jackson Arnold's going to solve all their problems. I do think the one big thing is like the sack rate, where if Baylor does not get home and Jackson Arnold does have time, does Cam Coleman go off in this game, who is just kind of the forgotten 5-star between Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith, who had a good year? I could see that. But I think Baylor's going to win this game. I think Baylor's offense is going to be too much for Auburn to keep up with. Give me Baylor 38, Auburn. Give me Auburn 31.
All right. Who we got next?
Georgia Tech on the road at Colorado. The Buffs, 4-point home dogs, Matt Green. What say you?
Is this the home dog of the week? Not so fast, my friend. Shout out to Lee Corso for his final week of college game day this week. Georgia Tech, I think there's no way Colorado stops this Georgia Tech offense, to be honest. I think this could be a situation where Georgia Tech scores like almost every time they have the ball. And how long do they have the ball? Maybe some of these are some 7-8 minute drives because Georgia Tech can grind you out. But I'm really curious to see what this Colorado team looks like this year after losing Shador, after losing Travis Hunter. Like, I'm not saying they're going to blow out Colorado, but I think this could be a high scoring game. I'm thinking, I almost said 40, but I'm going to say Georgia Tech wins this 38-30. Like, I think Colorado's going to score as well, but I think this Georgia Tech offense is going to look good, and they're going to take care of business at Colorado.
I don't know if so this was one of the ones that was really hard for me, Matt Green, and I could see a scenario maybe where Colorado's defense is just not able to handle Georgia Tech with Haynes and Haynes King, and they have a really good quarterback running back tandem. I am kind of curious how Rivers and company works as transfer wide receivers coming in from FIU. I don't know. Eric Singleton was a really good player for them last year, and he's another guy at Auburn who might be able to make some plays for Auburn in that Baylor game on Friday night. But I don't love this spot on the road in the high altitude, Matt Green. Colorado, obviously people are going to be doubting them, moving on from Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. Tackle play, I think.
Guilty.
Yeah, but I think they have two good tackles, Larry Johnson and Jordan Seaton. I think that's going to be really important for them. So I think Caden Salter is going to have time to do some stuff in this game. It's not going to be Juju Lewis. Caden Salter won. The weird stuff about Caden Salter, Matt Green, last year Liberty was 93rd in offense. Did it feel like that at all? Like Liberty still won 8 games, but they had a really bad year offensively and a really weak schedule. So shout out to my guy, Jimmy Chadwell, friend of the program, but I don't know what happened with that Liberty Flames offense last year, but Caden Salter was the quarterback and it did not go well. They were 134th when adjusted to do like schedule defensive strength. So they played a bad schedule and they didn't take advantage offensively, basically what the numbers said on BCF Toys. So it was a really bad offense. And I wonder what that season would have looked like if they were playing a tougher schedule. But then you go through Georgia Tech's. They were 75th in offensive efficiency a year ago, and they were 64th in drive success rate. They were also 103rd in sacks a game. So I don't know if they're going to be able to get home and really mess with Caden Salter a whole lot. And Tech's breaking in a new defensive coordinator here coming in from Texas with their guy going off to the NFL last year. Santucci, I think was his name. I forgot I think it was Santucci, something like that. Their DC, who was really good for them a year ago. Obviously, Buster Faulkner's back and is one of the best young play callers in the game. Shout out to Parkview. Help Parkview forever. Shout out to Buster. But I do think this is a game that I think could be a little bit sloppy and a little bit interesting on both sides. So I think people are going to count out the Buffs. I think there's some weird Caden Salter stuff from a year ago where I'm like, I think I would sell my Caden Salter bump stock because I think he was quietly bad against worse competition last year. And I don't know if it would not surprise me if we get some Juju Lewis sooner rather than later at Colorado. But I'm going to say Tech wins this game, but I will not be the least bit. I don't feel good about this game at all, and I would not be the least bit surprised if Colorado won this game outright. But give me Tech. I think this is gonna be low scoring. Give me Tech 23, Colorado 20.
Oh, that's interesting. Colorado didn't play any defense a year ago, so I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see if the defense ever shows up. For Dion
Robert Livingston, I think, is
Colorado.
a good defensive coordinator. I think they have a good staff. I mean, I think Warren Sapp is calling defense, and Marshall Faulk's like their running backs coach and everything. I mean, they got a sneaky good staff.
They're great players. I mean, we'll see if they can be great coaches.
Yeah, I don't know. I would not be surprised if Colorado won this game outright. I think a lot of people are doubting the Buffs here. Would not be surprised if they won this game, but I'm still going to take Tech. Tech needs this more. Tech could be a playoff finisher.
Yeah, I think this is probably when you want to get Colorado. I feel like it's going to be like early in the season where they don't necessarily have their identity or something yet. Tech feels like a team with more continuity coming back this year. Also, these two teams have never played, and they split the 1990 national title. So is this kind of like the rubber match? Does this decide who gets to claim the 90 title outright?
Yeah. It's a deep cut. I hope they talk about it. I hope they talk about those. I hope we get some good visuals of like those early, like could we get some Joe Ham on there? Could we get some Cordell
it's
Stewart?
Way earlier than Joe.
No,
Ham.
I'm just saying like some 90s Tech Colorado flair. Like just let's throw some stuff out there.
Oh yeah. Colorado was real cool in the 90s. Cordell Stewart and all that.
Next
Sean
up.
Salam.
It's true. Syracuse, Tennessee, Matt Green. 14.5 for the Volunteers. What say you?
I think this is interesting. I think Syracuse, I think, is going to take a step back probably from what they were a year ago. I don't think anyone saw Kyle McCord being as good as he was for Syracuse last year. So, you know, from that perspective, maybe they could surprise some people again. But Tennessee got off to so many slow starts a year ago. And, you know, that was with Nico at quarterback. I wonder if the slow starts continue this year without Dylan Sampson, without Nico. And I just wonder if this Tennessee team, I just want to know what they look like offensively. Like right now, I really have no idea. I think this is going to be a game where two teams kind of struggle like to score for the most part. So I think Tennessee wins this, but I don't think it's pretty. And I don't think they cover either. So I'm going to say Tennessee wins this. Let's say 19-13. I think this one might be, I don't know, a little ugly.
I don't think it's be that low scoring. That would be absolutely flooring to me if Tennessee only scores 19 points in this game. That would be wild.
I feel you. I just don't know. I don't know what this quarterback situation is going to look like.
He's going to take chances. Like that's the whole thing. Like Tennessee's got to take some deep shots in this game. Like Aguilar's a gunslinger. His quarterback coach and personal like trainer this week referred to him as Brett Favre. Like that was his comp. It's like he's a gunslinger. So it's like he's going to throw the ball all over the place. Like Joey Aguilar, especially early on, he's going to take some chances and they're going to see what they have.
Is he going to throw some picks? Like Brett Favre threw some picks, you know?
I don't think it's going to be a clean game. I'm right there with you in one aspect. I think Syracuse covers. I don't think this is going to be a blowout Tennessee win. I think this is going to be a lot closer than the last couple ACC games where Tennessee blew out Virginia in the opener. They blew out NC State last year. They blew out Clemson in the Orange Bowl a couple years ago too. Like they've really ran roughshod through the ACC.
Bowl of all time.
Yeah, well they've run roughshod over the ACC of late. But Pitt gave them problems those first 2 years. Like Pitt beat them in Neyland in 2021, and then Tennessee had to go to overtime against a backup Pitt quarterback to survive at Heinz Field. Now, it's not a road game, so that will help Tennessee here. But I do think this is going to take some time, and I think the offense is going to – I mean, they're just banged up. Like, no Jermon McCoy in this game. You're not going to have David Hobbs in the interior. We'll see how much Boo Carter plays. It seems like he's not going to start, and you're just bringing 4 new offensive line starters. Like, I think it's going to be kind of a work in progress. Like, I think –
Boo Carter's not going to start?
No, probably
like
not.
A disciplinary thing?
Yeah. Like it
so
would be
he's in on like the second series of the game or something.
I don't know. I mean, I would not think I would see him that early. If we see Boo Carter,
Really?
yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one to follow because it depends on who you ask and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would be surprised. Punt return would be the one that's like he's got to be on because Tennessee doesn't have a great option behind him. Where Jerron McCoy's out, he was a punt return guy last year. You had Squirrel White, another punt return guy. He's gone, and your two receivers who could be punt return guys, and Staley and Matthews, they can't be back there because you need them healthy, and they can't get hurt on that spot because you're so thin at receiver. They have to be there. So I think Boo has to be out there at least for punt returns. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Interesting.
This weekend. But with all that being said, one of the things that's super interesting too is this game could get out of the way that Tennessee wins this game. And this is what people miss is like Tennessee doesn't take like 20, like in 2022, it wasn't like they were bombarding teams with a bunch of deep shots every game. They just connected on like 5 out of their 8 and 4 went for touchdowns. Do you know what I mean? Like that's part of what it
and
like
ran the ball really well.
Yeah. And it's just they connected on those 5 of 8 deep shots. And then the score was crazy and the passing numbers were crazy. That could happen here where like Tennessee, if Mike Matthews connects with Joey Aguilar on 2 deep shots, they make like, let's say Aguilar hits 3 of 8 deep shots and 2 of them go for 6. Then Tennessee covers with ease because I think Tennessee's gonna be able to run the ball as they have all 4 years under Heupel. The defense is going to be one of the best in college football again. They're going to be able to do a whole heck of a lot to trouble in Jelly and company. I think the defense is going to, there's just such a high floor, and that's the difference between the Pitt series from 2021 and 2022. But I do think that's the difference between Tennessee covering and Tennessee winning like 28-10 or 28-17 or something is those 8 deep shots. How many does Aguilar turn into touchdowns? How many does he connect on? Because they're going to take those chances. So that'll depend. That will decide how much Tennessee wins this game by. I would be absolutely floored if Tennessee lost this game. It'd be a nightmare doomsday scenario. I don't think they're in jeopardy of that. But I do think Tennessee not covering here would not surprise me in the least. So give me, I think Syracuse covers. Give me Tennessee 30. Give me Tennessee 34. Syracuse 23.
All right, 34-23. And
one of those might be a pick 6.
Oh,
for Syracuse.
What was your Colorado score?
Let's do Tech. Let's do Tech.
Oh, you did pick Tech? I think you picked Colorado to win.
No, I picked Tech. I would not be surprised if Colorado won that game.
All right, what's your score?
Give me Tech 30, Colorado 27.
All right, put it on the board. All right, who we got next?
Alabama, Florida State, 13.5 point line. Matt Green, home underdogs. You better not pick. This better not be Zeus's home dog of the week out of the gate here, Matt Green.
Sir, are you not familiar with Doak Campbell Stadium and the renovations they've done to the place? It's gonna be going nuts. Don't stop the chop. I feel like if this was 14.5, I feel like I would take Florida State. I don't know. Honestly, what's the Ricky Bobby line? Well, it was Cal that said it. He's like, I'm a little confused by your tactics. Thomas Castellanos this offseason, man. I'm just like, dude, you're playing Alabama. Like, you don't have to talk like this. Like, you're not even expected to win this game. His confidence is almost confusing me. I'm like, maybe this guy knows something. Maybe he knows what this Florida State team's got. What did they go 2-10 a year ago? I'm not sure how like sharp Alabama is going to be just coming out of the gates here, like week 1 at Florida State, like hostile environment. Like even if you are a terrible team, everyone gets loud first game of the season, And Florida State, we know they should be better than 2-10. Like we know they have more talent than below average ACC team, much less like the worst ACC team and the worst team in the ACC. So I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State is significantly better than they were a year ago, but is that beating Alabama? I don't think so. I'd be surprised if Alabama lost or won this game by less than 2 touchdowns. So Let me go Alabama 31-17. I feel like Florida State might make this a game for like a little bit because like the home juice. But I think Alabama ends up taking care of business.
Yeah, I agree. I would be very surprised if this is a game. I mean, a whole lot of talking from Thomas Castellanos. I will tell you this though, Matt Green. Think about like when we were thinking about this game 2 years ago. FSU, we were thinking like we're looking at future schedules, like FSU undefeated, one of the best teams in college football. Nick Saban roaming the sidelines for Alabama, and we're like, wow, we're getting Alabama on the road at Florida State week 1, 2025. This is gonna be awesome. What a big time game. And it's like, nah, Alabama's a double-digit favorite. FSU coming off a 2-10 year.
That day that the playoff was selected, like how pissed Florida State fans were. Wait till 2025 when Saban comes to town, and then things changed a little bit in all the vibes since then.
100%. I think this could get ugly. I mean, Florida State is going to start heck of a lot of Vols. They're going to start Elijah Herring at linebacker, Jason Jenkins at defensive end, Squirrel White at receiver, Juice Robinson is going to start on one of the sides. Like Roydell Williams still there. Thomas Castellanos, I think, is a good fit for Gus's scheme, but man, he got benched down the stretch last year at Boston College. They were like, happy trails. We're going in a different direction, and got better with Grayson James. And now they're going with Dylan Lonergan this year with Bill O'Brien. So you never like to see stuff like that where the previous bad team was like, yeah, we're good. And we'll see. Maybe Thomas Castellanos surprises us. I do think he is a good fit for Gus Bus and what he's trying to do there. But Florida State, 101st in yards per attempt through the air defensively last year. That's a little concerning with what Bama is going to be throwing at Florida State with their wide receivers in this game. Bama was 4th in FBS and rushing TDs allowed last year. They were 79th in rushing yards allowed per game on the road. So Florida State could carve them up a little bit. Like Bama was a little bit leaky. Kane Womack-Stevens was a little bit leaky, allowing folks to run the football on the ground when they were not inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. So that's something to keep in mind. Florida State, though, was 99th in yards per attempt as an offense versus ranked teams last year. Like the offense is just terrible. There's too many things that need to get cleaned up in 1 year for Florida State. Like, I don't think they're going to be a train wreck like they were a year ago, but this is a terrible situation for a team breaking in a whole new offense, new coordinator, new quarterback. I have a lot of questions about just so many transfers still starting games for this team. I just think they're like a 6-6 type team. And I think Alabama, I'm winning the national title this year, and I think Alabama's going to come in here. This is going to remind me a little bit. Do you remember Bama's USC in that opener years ago where USC came out very, very fired up, like they're ready for that moment, and then the game was just an absolute blowout after that? I think you could see Thomas Castellanos and Florida State coming out here. We're ready for Bama. We want Bama, and the crowd's going bananas. Like, we want Bama, and then Bama's up like 48-10 going in midway through the third quarter. I think Bama wins and crushes Florida State. I think this is one of the bigger blowouts on national television this weekend. I'm going to go Bama 45, Florida State 7.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Alabama was up 21-0 at the end of the first quarter or something. But I don't know. I think I'm a little more of a believer in Castellanos, the magic. Because I don't think Alabama's they're not the same as they were when they took the field with USC all those years ago. I think they were just a different machine back then. I think they might still be the best team in the country. I just think they're not that same machine, and that's not an insult to them. You can still win a championship and not be at that level that they were at a decade ago.
Next up, LSU Clemson, maybe the game of the weekend, hardest game to predict. Clemson 4-point home favorites. What say you, Matt Green?
I want the folks at home to know that, I don't, if you listen to the Georgia Voice of College Football on Mondays at 7:00, then you might hear me pick some games and how I'm feeling about the weekend. That doesn't mean that I'm going to pick the same thing on Wednesday or Thursday. That I might just completely change my vibes since then. And I think this is a game that I've gone back and forth about because I feel like getting this Clemson team early in the season is like probably the worst time to get them. Like, I don't know that they have the depth of some of these other elite teams in the country, but I think they're starters, like the 6 or 7 guys that are being projected to go first round. Like, I think, they have top end guys, but not necessarily they might have not the they might not have the depth that LSU has. But getting them when they're healthy is on the road is probably a bad time to get Clemson. And maybe it's listening to Bill Connolly a little bit earlier, guesting on another show. But I feel like I've had to remind myself that Clemson just wasn't that good last year. Like, I feel like we're all talking about how much they have returning from last year, and they could be better. And Dabo is really good. And maybe I'm not trying to talk disrespect Cade Klubnik, but like, he might be the best quarterback in college football. I think if he is, that's kind of a down year for like college football quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Like Drew Aller and Cade Klubnik, yeah, they're the most proven guys coming back, but I don't think those guys should be the 2 best quarterbacks in college football most years. Like they're 2 guys that are good, but not great. Every time this team played a team that was any good last year, they lost. And they like legitimately didn't really beat anyone that was good other than SMU in the ACC championship. I don't know how legitimate SMU was, but they were 11-1 against their schedules. They got to be pretty good. That's really the best team Clemson beat all season last year. A flawed Georgia team that a lot of people still, I'm not sure what the opinion was of 2024 Georgia for most people. They're just such a strange team. That team absolutely blew the doors off of Clemson. Like 34-3? Louisville beat Clemson.
Yeah.
South Carolina beat Clemson. Texas beat Clemson. Like, they at least kept the Texas game close, but I don't know. The more I think about it, I know LSU's lost. Was it 5 season openers in a row now? I think I'm leaning towards LSU going on the road and getting it done, because Clemson's basically lost every game to a team that has equal or better talent that they've played over the last year.
What would you guess Dabo Swinney's home record is as the head coach of the Clemson Tigers since 2014?
Since 2014, well, we're talking like a decade, so probably like 60 something home games, maybe 70. I'm gonna say 60, 64 and 3.
He's 50-1.
Ooh, wow. Is that good?
Best in college football.
That's pretty good.
If this was a neutral site game, I might go LSU here. Dabo, and we talk about Kirby and the run there at home. I mean, the Rock and what they've been able to do at home is pretty preposterous. So that's already going to be really hard for LSU to overcome. LSU, you know what? I'm not a Garrett Nussmeier guy. Even with the number change, they're trying to make Garrett Nussmeier happen. They keep trying. Like, we're bringing back Matty Mock's number. They just keep trying.
This is what I want to know. Is he actually changing his number?
Yeah.
Because Will Campbell was an honorary number 7, but he didn't switch to number 7 last year. So I don't know what they're doing with their numbers. I think this LSU number thing is so weird.
It is bizarre, but yeah, he's going to 18, I believe. But I'm not a Gus Bus guy. I think Nuss Bus, I should say.
Nuss Bus.
He's fine. Like, so Garrett Nussmeier, 57th QBR versus ranked teams last year. He had a 54% completion percentage against ranked teams last year. One of the worst in college football. LSU, they were 112th in defensive passing yards allowed per attempt on the road. This is going to be maybe the best 3-man receiver trio outside of Bama they play this year. I think Clemson could torch the secondary again. And I would not be surprised if LSU's defense, where they're sending a lot of folks, they're sending Peyton and Perkins and everybody trying to blitz with Baker's scheme now in year 2 at LSU. I think they're going to have to be aggressive in this game, but I think there's a real chance that Clemson torches LSU through the air. I think that much is very much on the table, and that's how this game can get kind of out of hand. I don't think Nussmeier is good in these spots. Like, I am not a Garrett Nussmeier believer. I don't think he is one of the premier quarterbacks in the sport. I think he's not my guy. I'm not a Garrett Nussmeier believer. I think he's a stat patter. against bad teams and is in a good situation. I don't trust him in this spot. I think he's going to have a bad game, and I think Cade Klubnik's going to completely outplay him, and I think Clemson's going to roll here. I think Clemson wins. LSU does a lot of dumb stuff in this game. They get it over their head. All the jokes about Brian Kelly not winning another opener, and Clemson just keeps moving forward. So I think give me Clemson 35, LSU 28.
I will say I'm not as high. I'm definitely not a Garrett Nussmeier, number one pick kind of guy. Like he's gonna get in the hype of, but just keeping the same energy like I do with Carson Beck a year ago. Georgia ranked 15th in the SEC in rushing yards per game, and Carson Beck basically had to carry the offense with receivers who couldn't catch the ball. LSU ranked 16th in the SEC in rushing yards per game a year ago. So Garrett Nussmeier had to carry this team, and he's played in more games, like he's won more games like this than Cade Klubnik has to this point. I think I don't know. I did pick the under, I think, on LSU coming into the season, and so a win here would probably work against that. But I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm just reminded that like Clemson wasn't actually that legit in 2024, and I don't know how legit LSU is in 2025, but I feel like I'm more of a believer. But you're right. All the metric, like all the vibes, the intangibles feel like they're going in Clemson's direction, but I don't know. LSU's been in some weird games. Maybe they'll like Ole Miss a year ago, of South Carolina a year ago. Maybe they find a way to win this one as well.
Yeah. I'm
saying 32-26 is my score.
We're disagreeing a lot here. This is gonna be good. Utah, UCLA, 6.5 home dog Bruins. What you got, Matt Green?
Was that the next one? Did you skip one?
No.
Maybe I wrote it down in the wrong order. Okay. Not sure what to expect in this game. Year 2 of Deshaun Foster at UCLA, so maybe they can take a step forward. They obviously brought in Nico in the portal. Who? He wasn't there for spring practice, so maybe that's not great for getting a new starting quarterback. But I don't know. I really don't know what to expect of Utah. I think you like Utah this year, but I'm going to take UCLA to win this one. They're they're a home dog, right? I mean, I'm not.
Yes,
they're not the home dog, but I reserve the right to count them if they do win, just to help Zeus's numbers. But I'm going to take UCLA to get this done. 27-24.
It's a really intriguing quarterback battle. Dan Pierre was really good at New Mexico last year. He comes in with his offensive coordinator Beck. They were with Bronco Mendenhall down there. They were the number 2 rushing offense last year. The Lobos were. Nico obviously coming in, I don't think a bad situation on the offensive line, bad situation at the receiver position. First time play caller in Tino Sinceri. The one thing that will decide this game and whether or not UCLA has a fighting chance, UCLA was quietly the sixth best rushing defense last year in all of FBS, Matt Green. So something has to give here where Utah's going to want to run the heck out of the ball. UCLA is one of the best rush defenses team a year ago. I still lean Utah being able to just slowly erode and cause all kinds of problems for UCLA here. UCLA was actually 106th in rushing yards TDs allowed versus Power 5 teams a year ago. New Mexico was 15th in long rushing plays in FBS. The other big thing with Nico here, Indiana, where Tino Sinceri came from, 90th in passing offense versus ranked teams last year. So as much as like, oh, that was a great year. I mean, Curtis Rourke, it wasn't like he was lighting it up, and Indiana's passing offense was not lighting it up again in big games. We'll see how the scheme works. We'll see how it all unfolds. Like, I have nothing against Nico. I hope it all works out. I just think this is a bad first game for them, and I think Utah's going to be especially motivated. They got a healthy quarterback, new system, a ground and pound scheme that I think is going to be very endearing to Kyle Whittingham. Bronco Mendenhall, obviously a defense first guy with the Lobos now at Utah State. I think that's going to be a good marriage that works out this year. I think they're just going to grind and pound UCLA into submission here on the road to kick things off. So give me Give me Utah. Let's go Utah 34, UCLA 13.
34-13, smashing them.
I do think they're going to smash.
They finally have a healthy Cam Rising, or is he day to day?
I couldn't imagine being a fan and dealing with that for like 3 straight years. Like to keep running it back. Like maybe Florida fans are dealing with that right now. Where like, hey, can we get like just no DJ Lagway like injury updates? Like it's just he's clean for a full year. How about that?
Yeah, for real.
Next up, Virginia Tech, South Carolina. The Gamecocks, 8-point home favorites. What say you, Matt Green?
8-point favorites in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Oh, is this the Benz too? I didn't realize
that. I feel like I like Lenore Sellers a lot, but it feels like there's too much hype on Lenore Sellers. Like I feel like he's not Heisman preseason number 1 or like number 1 overall pick kind of good in my opinion. Like not to hate on him, he feels like the team you sleep on. Watch out for their quarterback. Like that dude's really good. You know what I mean? Like he is good. Like I'm not trying to take away from him, but it's interesting how he's he doesn't feel like a sure thing to like where the floor is. You know what I mean? Like not to disrespect him in any way. I think I like Lenore Sellers, like I said, but his style is kind of, it's like the improvising and just kind of running around making plays. He obviously missed some time with injury a year ago. Probably the reason they don't win that LSU game a year ago on top of the questionable referee call. But I think it's interesting how South Carolina, I just struggle with them being a known commodity. You know what I mean? Like they feel like they need to sneak up on folks. I just don't think it's ever going to be easy for South Carolina. Like I think they're going to be good, but like they're just going to get in some battles. Like it's not going to be easy. Like I don't know if Kyron Drones like kind of takes that step that kind of people are expecting. I'm not even necessarily basing this as much on Virginia Tech as I am South Carolina. Like I think South Carolina wins this game, but I don't think South Carolina comes out and makes a statement like, oh, they look like an elite team in college football. I think if they do make a run to 9 wins or 10 wins this year, they're just going to be in like 10-1 score games, and it's just going to be tough like every time. You know what I mean? So give me South Carolina 34-27. They win, but Virginia Tech against the spread.
Virginia Tech has all the just potential to wreak havoc here. No one's going to be paying them any mind. South Carolina feeling themselves could absolutely go into this game like, oh, we could sleepwalk through a victory here against the Hokies. Brent Pry needs this, man. Like this is a lot bigger.
About the Beamer angle of this too.
True. I hadn't even considered that. Yeah, there is a big time, obviously, Beamer angle here. Philip Montgomery, new offensive coordinator for Virginia Tech. That should be interesting. His first game, he used to be really good with those Tulsa teams way back when, but Tulsa's offense has gotten progressively worse over the last 4 years. If you look at their numbers, and it was just on a downward trend. Now Trey Lamb, and I think Philip Montgomery was he Auburn last year? I want to say Philip Montgomery bounced around a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Right, the new offensive coordinator for I want to say he was with Hugh last year, if I'm not mistaken. He's 53. His last year with the Hurricanes was 2022, and he was with Auburn. Yeah. So he was with Auburn. 23. He was with the Birmingham Stallions in the USFL in 2024. So he's been all over the place, but he was really good at Baylor. If you remember from 2008 to 2014, he was really good there. He was a big time high school coach at in the state of Texas, but I am kind of curious what he brings to that group, right? Like Kyron Jones was someone I think both liked coming into last year. Didn't have the kind of year you would have hoped. Cam Selden, former Tennessee 4-star. He's going to be starting at receiver there. Another Tennessee kid, actually, Aiden Green, another one of the receivers. He's from Powell, not the University of Tennessee. But I don't like this matchup for South Carolina. I think this is one that will be a little bit closer, kind of like you. This is one we're on the same page on. I don't see Virginia Tech not covering here. I mean, they should have beat Vanderbilt to open last year, if you recall, on the road at Vandy. And we didn't think that was a big deal, but Vandy ended up being a pretty good team in the SEC. We'll see where South Carolina is. Obviously, South Carolina should be better than where that Vanderbilt team was a year ago. But Virginia Tech was 18th in defensive sacks last year. South Carolina's offensive line is not improved. Like, Virginia Tech could get home and cause some havoc for Lenora Sellers and company. So Brent Pry is a good defensive mind. I think he's going to get after him. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think Virginia Tech is going to give them some problems. We'll see what Faison, who got cleared finally by the NCAA, he'll be their starting tailback for the Gamecocks this week. That's a big addition for them. But I think this is going to be close. I don't think the receivers scare Virginia Tech a whole lot for South Carolina. Lenora Sellers is going to have to do a lot on his own here. This is going to be a ground and pound type deal for both sides. I think Virginia Tech comes close here. I think South Carolina survives, but I think Virginia Tech's got a shot pulling the upset here. Give me South Carolina 23, Virginia Tech 20.
I'm with you there. Also, if Caleb Downs isn't the best defensive player in college football, I think it's Dylan Stewart for South Carolina.
I don't hate it. Final two. Notre Dame at Miami. The Canes, 2.5-point home dogs. What say you, Matt Green?
You know what time it is, sir. It is
Zeus
time for
getting
the
in?
home dog of the week on Sunday night. Miami Hurricanes fans, they are fair weather fans. Don't at me, as the kids say. But that being said, this is some fair weather right now. And it's season opener, big game, Catholics versus convicts, if they're still using that term. I think Miami, the atmosphere is going to be big time in this one. And I think I'm really curious to see, like, Riley Leonard was so much of like just the engine that steered that Notre Dame offense a year ago, just kind of the off script plays, the design runs and things like that. I wonder what this Notre Dame offense is going to look like with CJ Carr. Jeremiah Love, they could run for 250 and they blow out Miami. Like that could also happen unless this Miami defense is improved from a year ago. But assuming we're getting a healthy Carson back, I think I know Miami lost a lot of receivers from a year ago, but obviously they weren't. It's not like they would have had any chemistry with Carson Beck anyway, since he was on Georgia. But so I think Miami finds a way to beat Notre Dame in the season opener, 31-30. Canes get it done over the Irish.
I went back and forth on this one. This is hard. I think CJ Carr, first start, like there's a lot of tough first starts in this one. Julian Saying, CJ Carr, like you just look all around, man. These are a lot of tough games out of the gate here for these first year starters. Minnesota, their defensive coordinator moves over to Miami. Miami just could not stop anybody. They were number one in offense last year, obviously with Cam Ward and company. But Minnesota had a top 10 pass defense and a top 12 rush defense. I don't think they're going to be that good right away, moving in from Gopher country to what Miami's personnel is. But I think it's going to be a whole lot better. I think it's going to the offense is going to take a step back a little bit, but the defense I think is going to be a whole lot better. I think Miami's offensive line with multiple first rounders there, I think that's going to be huge. Francis Maligoa is a big time offensive lineman, 5-star kid Tennessee was on years ago. He looks like he could be a first rounder. I think they're going to be able to handle this Notre Dame defensive line. I think the big question to me is how Keelan Marion, the BYU transfer, and CJ Daniels and company pan out for Miami. I'm kind of concerned about Miami's wide receiver depth and what that looks like for Carson Beck, because you saw last year, Carson Beck struggled to make things happen without some big time receivers. I think people thought that Carson was just going to throw people open, this kind of thing, and that was just going to be, he was going to elevate everybody around him. Maybe he does that in Miami, but I do have a question mark about how much talent he actually has a receiver to work with this year, but Shannon Dawson deserves the benefit of the doubt there.
For the record, I think he did throw people open. They just couldn't catch the ball.
Right. But I mean, he also had the yips and was throwing the ball to the other team.
He turned the ball over. Yeah, for sure.
So I would say it's going to be close. I'm not picking Mario Cristobal over Marcus Freeman, Matt Green. It's not happening until this is an ultimate Mario Cristobal. You got to get this one at home. I don't think he's going to get it though. I think this has all the makings of a dumb Miami loss that they were winning all game long. and they should win this game, and they blow it late, and Marcus Freeman just outcoaches Mario Cristobal when it counts. Give me Notre Dame in a late stunner. Let's go 27-24 Notre Dame. But I do think Miami should win this game, and I think Miami will be winning this game throughout. I think the prevailing story coming out of this weekend is, oh, Miami, what are you doing? What a masterclass by Notre Dame surviving somehow.
And what Notre Dame's like a 2.5-point favorite or something?
Yeah.
You said. So you think Marcus Freeman's a better coach than Mario Cristobal?
Oh, no question. Marcus Freeman's like a top 5 coach right now.
I definitely don't agree with that. I think that he might be better, but I don't know. With what Cristobal's done at Oregon, now what he's done at Miami, I think it's already more impressive. Like, I'm not ready to anoint Marcus Freeman at that level. Like, I think, especially with what they did in the playoff a year ago, like they beat Georgia without their starting quarterback and then beat a Penn State team that I still don't know how good they were. Like, I'm not ready to just say, like, because he got to a championship that Marcus Freeman, like, we don't think that Sonny Dykes is somehow a top 5 coach in the sport, and his team also lost in a national championship. It's so I'm not ready to say that Marcus Freeman is at that level, especially considering the Notre Dame program he took over. Like, I don't know. We'll see about that. Let's not forget they lost to Northern Illinois a year ago, lost to Marshall a year before that. Like, I think the jury's still out on Marcus Freeman. Not in terms of him being a good coach, but in terms of him being like a truly elite coach. Like, I think the jury's still out on Mario Cristobal, but and I'm not a Cristobal fan per se. Like, I think he seems to do a lot of things to contribute to losing for his teams, but I don't know. I think this team's got a lot of talent, so we'll see what they can do. So we disagree again, sir.
We shall see. Last one, TCU, North Carolina, Monday night. The Tar Heels with Bill Belichick, 3-point home dogs out of the gate. What say you?
I think TCU is going to go in and, if not blast North Carolina, win comfortably. I'm gonna say they drop a 40 spot. This offense, I think, for TCU could be good this year, and it's just year one. Like, Bill Belichick, like, I don't know. I just do not expect Bill Belichick and this team to be good just from day one. So give me TCU 42-27 over North Carolina.
Wow.
That's not necessarily a
Belichick
blowout.
getting
That's like 2
blasted.
touchdowns, 15. But yeah.
So it's already going to be jarring just seeing Bill Belichick on a college football sideline on Monday night. Like, that's just going to be really weird. TCU is a better team. A lot of continuity there. Josh Hoover, I'm a big fan of. I think it'll be interesting to see how Belichick and company work to limit him in this football game. But Gio Lopez, new quarterback, South Alabama, he was pretty good there this past year. Southpaw, we'll see what he looks like in this new system with Bill. This is going to be one of those games that I think I will want to turn off with the announcing. Like, I think this has all the makings. Like, if TCU's rolling and TCU's doing well, everything coming out of this, doesn't matter what TCU does in this game, the entire conversation will be about Bill Belichick. And I made our predictions where I'm like, it's going to be like Colorado 2 years ago, where no one's going to have a nuanced conversation about this and have a normal conversation about this year one. I think Belichick, it's going to take some time. I don't like this matchup for them out of the gate. I think this speed and what TCU is bringing back on offense, I think they could, like you said, they figured some stuff out last year offensively. I think they could blast North Carolina in this game. And I think it could be a wake-up call in this one where the early part, the first quarter, it's like, oh, Bill Belichick, and everybody in pregame is like, yeah, I like North Carolina here. Home dog, Belichick's got him right where he wants him. And then TCU and Josh Hoover and Dykes and company are just like, yeah, this is a different deal in the NFL. And we're going to run all over you. We're going to pass all over you, actually. So I'm actually with you. I think TCU wins and covers here. Give me TCU 34, UNC 13.
All right, put it on the board. So 11 games. We agree on the winner in, what is that? 8 of them. Is that right? No, 6 of them. My count's way off. We agree in the winner on 6 of them.
Slammy Samsonite.
We agree like completely on like the spread and the winner in only 4 of them. So be a lot of shakeups in the week 1 standings. So we'll see what happens.
All right, Matt Green. Well, that's all I've got on my end. What can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Georgia Voice of College Football this week?
This week, tune in on Saturday. At some point, we'll be going live with our post-game reaction show to the Marshall game. Maybe it's 30 minutes after the game's over. Maybe it's 11 o'clock, midnight after all the action is over. I don't know. I don't know if we have enough time. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we'll be coming with a live show at some point on Saturday night, and then every week Mondays at 7 o'clock.
I love it. Matt Green, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me, Jimmy Hyams, local Knoxville legend. Can't stay retired, so he's joining me on this very program. As Jimmy, we're 3 days away from Tennessee football. When the folks are hearing this, 2 days away from Tennessee football being back. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, and I'm looking forward to another football season. Chase, I've been covering Tennessee since 1985. That makes 40 years. But looking forward to it, and should be an exciting season for Tennessee.
It's definitely going to be exciting, right? Like this is, I was telling folks this week, it has a 2021 feel in a lot of ways, where we went into the first Heupel era, where it was just, you knew that like the offense should be good. Like we saw, like UCF, it looked pretty good. We know Drew Lock and Dylan Gabriel. Like there's some past evidence. We were still kind of wondering how long it would take for Heupel to get situated and everything else. The difference is the defense is so much more comfortable, and you just have so much more talent, and it raises the floor of this program so much. That's the part that's different than 2021. But I think I'm just as uncertain about the offense, quarterback play, everything else as I was going into the 2021 season, because you didn't know what you had in Cedric Tillman at that point. You didn't know what you were going to get from Javonte Payton as a flyer Mississippi State transfer. You didn't know on a lot of guys what you really had there, and it played out in some ways great, in a lot of ways. And I don't know. I kind of enjoy that. Like you could tell me this offense could go all kinds of different ways, at least in the passing game, turnovers, and everything else. But I don't know. I'm just excited to see how it all plays out, because I just have no idea where it's going to go, starting with the quarterback.
Well, I'm in the same camp with you regarding the defense. I think the defense will be really good. I tried to evaluate the offense this way. Where would I rank Tennessee's quarterback relative to the rest of the SEC? Where would I rank the wide receivers? Where would I rank the offensive line, the receivers, and the tight ends? I frankly don't have them ranked very high. I've got the running backs ranked high in the SEC. I like the trio. They don't have a great one. I think they got a lot of good ones. I like the tight ends. I don't like the receivers. I'm uncertain about the quarterback, and the offensive line's being rebuilt with 4 new starters. So when you put numbers like that to it, this offense doesn't look like it's going to be very productive. But we also know that Heupel has been able to coach and get the most out of his talent, which I think he did in 2021. You referenced that. I will say this, though. They got to do a better job than scoring 25 points per game in SEC play. That is not going to yield a 10-win season this year. They're going to have to score better, in part because they're facing some opposing offenses that are better than they were a year ago, namely Oklahoma and Arkansas for sure, so and Florida. So I do think Tennessee's going to have to score more. I certainly think they can, and we'll see what transpires. But if they do that, the big key is we know Joey Aguilar is going to have to play, not at a great level, but he's going to have to play at a competent level.
And I don't know, part of it, we were going back and forth, and I'm curious what you think on Saturday, because I think Heupel is going to take some deep shots early on Saturday. I think he's someone who, especially when you look at what Syracuse has and just how much production they're replacing and how Tennessee has smacked around ACC teams during the Heupel era for the most part, I just think he knows he can go into a shell like what he did against Oklahoma, right? Where, hey, we don't have the offensive line. We can't, like, let's just get out of here and get a win. Like, we're going 12 personnel. We're just going to play ball control, and we're just going to get out of Norman with a victory. It's not that extreme because they don't have the defense that Oklahoma does, and Oklahoma did last year. But I do think Heupel, he's a natural, like he's not a gunslinger, but I do think he's going to want to let it rip. I think he's going to want to see what Joey does down the field. I think they're going to want to see what the accuracy looks like. I think they're going to give Mike some opportunities down the field, Brazel and Mike especially. They're going to let Braylon do some stuff over the middle. They're going to see how Joey, because remember, Joe Milton was doing stuff like that early on in 2023, and then it was taken away. Like it was one of those where it was like the training wheels were put on, and it was like we're going side to side, running the football. We're not doing what we hoped we would be able to do. Because remember, like that first play, I'm convinced, Jimmy, like the drop from Mel Keaton against Virginia and that 60-yard bomb, just I felt like upended his whole year, like that confidence, because that was a touchdown, and it was just from then on, it just Ramel was never right. It felt like for the rest of the year, like it felt like he lost his confidence, and it just I don't know, it was just kind of a bummer. But he takes deep shots. Like Heupel, remember the Pitt game in 2021 where Milton was missing all over the place, but they were taking shots down the field and they were seeing what they had in Milton and what the accuracy is like. I think a lot of fans and analysts are looking at this game. They're like, oh, Heupel's just going to run the ball. They're going to go a bunch of 12 first down. I'm like, Heupel had to do that last year. That's not what Heupel and his scheme wants to do. They want to take those chances down the field. They want to have those 8 to 10 deep shots and connect on a couple of them. And that's a difference in the game potentially. I think we're going to see him. I don't know if they're all going to work, Jimmy. Like, if you were to tell me that Joey Aguilar has just a really bad pick six and also just an unbelievable 60-yard dive to Mike Matthews in the same half on Saturday, I believe you. I think we're going to get some crazy volatility early on in this game.
Well, you may be right. As I look at Tennessee, I do think it's ingrained in them to take some shots.
Yeah.
I wonder if they will try to set them up, though, by throwing flanker screens or throwing something short and then taking the shots. The one thing we've heard about Aguilar is he does throw a pretty good deep ball. The other thing that Josh Heupel told me in May when I asked him what he liked about Aguilar, he said his accuracy thrown over the middle. Tennessee hadn't done that the last 2 years.
Yep.
And part of it was I don't think they trusted Joe Milton, because if he misfired, he threw it so hard it was going to be a pick.
Yep.
And I'm not so sure they trusted Nico over the middle either. So I think you'll see them throwing over the middle and trying to establish that, which is going to help everything. It's going to help the wide game. It's going to help the running attack, help everything. If you can add the middle of the field to your arsenal, to your repertoire. So I think we're going to see some of that. But, they'll take some deep shots. Now, who's it going to be with? Is it going to be Brazel? Is it going to be with Matthews? Is it going to potentially be Staley? I don't know if Boo Carter's going to play in this game, but if he does, I'd like to see him at wide receiver and maybe even take a flanker screen. He led the SEC in punt returns a year ago. I'm not sure they have a more dynamic athlete who would make you miss in space than Boo Carter. So I'll be curious to see if he gets any snaps. But with Aguilar, I do think they'll take some shots. And I'm also going to be curious to see how well they run the ball. As you know, they led the SEC in rushing a year ago. They averaged 226 yards a game. I don't think they can get there without a Dylan Sampson, but I think they can still be an effective running team.
Yeah, I mean, they've averaged at minimum 5 yards per carry all 4 years under Heupel, like into varying degrees. But it's also like the 2 seasons they've been top 10 in scoring, the rushing attack's been somewhere in the 20s nationally. So the best version of Tennessee's offense is actually the rushing taking a little bit of a step back nationally in the passing game and having those deep shots, having the 30-plus yard passing plays, that kind of thing, getting back in. That's the best version of Tennessee's offense. But I do it's interesting, the Boo part, because I would be absolutely floored at this point if we ever saw Boo on offense, barring some crazy injury luck on that side of the ball. I don't see it. I would use him in the red zone. Like that's where I would look, just because you've been so bad there scoring touchdowns the last 2 years. And that's been you've really missed Princeton fan. I don't know, Jimmy, if you would have ever went back 5 years ago and you tell yourself, you tell future self, hey, Tennessee's going to really miss Princeton fan. And I think they've really never been able to find that red zone Swiss Army knife that Princeton was. And he just worked in this scheme and worked in a lot of different ways. And I mean, Vilas did that early too. Like Vilas was someone who could be in the backfield, be at the slot. Like he was a really versatile player as well. I don't know who that is ultimately in the red zone. Maybe it's Ethan Davis this year. I think he's someone who could be a wide receiver tight end, big body type. Like maybe you can throw some fades to him and he breaks out a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. They got to clean that up. But they might, if you don't clean it up, then you better have those explosive plays that turn to touchdowns. Like the Jalen Hyatt's just breaking free wide open. That's like something has to give there. And I just don't know ultimately what it's going to be. The Boo part of it, I wonder, Jimmy, when you think about like how college sports has changed and the amateurism part of it, I've gone to this, like, I understand not wanting to lose the locker room, but like in this era, in the professionalization of college sports, especially the Power 2. I mean, he better be returning punts. He better be getting a lot of snaps defensively because, like, if he's on the team, you got to play him. Like, I just think we're now game week, and ultimately the best, like, even if you think he's a flyer, like he's gone after this year, it doesn't matter. That's in the NFL all the time. There's all kinds of guys, that are not going to be back on your team. You're not going to pay after this year, whatever. Like, that's part of the deal. NBA teams win titles based on guys that they get at the trade deadline that are rental guys. Like, Boo Carter can be just that this year and go off to Colorado, wherever he might go. Who cares? Boo Carter is one of your 5 best playmakers. He's one of your 5 best players, I probably would say, as a whole. He needs to play. Like, if he's on the team and not suspended, whatever, like, you got to play him, man. Like, we're getting checks now. We're in that era of college sports, right? Like, I don't know what the defense is of not playing Boo Carter on Saturday.
Well, you said the word. What if he's suspended?
Yeah.
So,
I need you to say that then. Like, if you're not going to tell me he's suspended, then he better be playing, man.
Well, yeah, but my whole point was, I don't know if he's going to play against Syracuse because he might be suspended, and I don't expect Tennessee to make that announcement until 30 seconds before the game. They're supposed to do an availability report. We'll see if they do that. But what I'm saying with Boo Carter is, I would use him on now. I understand he's got to get acclimated. He hadn't been practicing all that much. I get all that, but at some point, and I'm not saying against Syracuse necessarily, but at some point, I think he needs to be in that receiver rotation to help them because you said you think he's one of the 5 best players on the team. He is such a dynamic player with the ball under his arm. He can take a flanker screen and get you 15 or 20 yards. He could also run a go route. So I think he can help you in the passing attack. And he may not play more than 12 snaps or 15 snaps on offense. But I'm not going to let a talent like that stay on the bench unless he's suspended.
Yeah, I know. I'm 100%. And I also just think at this point, if you're in too much time's passed, if he's doing all this stuff, you can't suspend him, man. I would just be like, if there's another mess up, whatever, then he's done. You move on. But your job is to win games. Like, you're paid $220,000 a week, whatever it is. Josh Heupel. It's like the ultimate thing is like you're trying to win games, and you got to play your best players if they're on the team. I don't know, but what's your gut on the final win total this season, Jimmy Hyams? Because I settled on this week 8-4 is my final thing. A lot of people are going 9-3. Friend of the program, Grant Ramey, which I respect, going 10-2. Just great stuff from Grant. 10-2 was unbelievable. I would love it. I don't see it. Based on your reaction, I don't think you see 10-2. What's your final prediction here?
I'm in that 8-4. If I had to lean in the direction, it would be 9-3. Look, to go 10-2, okay, you haven't beaten Florida on the road since 2003.
Yeah.
You haven't beaten Alabama on the road since 2005. And you hadn't beaten Georgia much anywhere the last, 8 years? I think Georgia's won 8 in a row.
Yep.
To me, those are 3 losses. Now, typically, Heupel has lost a game he probably shouldn't have. And last year, that game was to Arkansas. Arkansas is going to have a better offensive team when they come to Knoxville. And so will Oklahoma with John Mateer, the transfer from Washington State. I think one of those 2 teams is likely to get Tennessee. So I've got them 8-4. I actually think they're going to handle Syracuse. The more I look at that Syracuse game, the more I look at Syracuse's talent or lack thereof. I think Tennessee is going to win this game and cover the spread with relative ease. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong about that. But the other thing about picking Tennessee to win 10, then you're betting on Joey Aguilar to have a really good year. Because if he doesn't play very well, Tennessee can't get to 10 wins. I think he's going to play pretty well and get to 8 and again, you'll be in position, I think, to get to 9, but you got to avoid a loss to either Oklahoma or Arkansas.
Yeah, 10, it's just Aguilar has to be great and play all 12 games. I think you have to have great Lance Hurd left tackle for a full year. I think David Sanders has to be a plug-and-play right tackle and not go through some true freshman issues. I think your 3 wide receivers have to stay relatively healthy and get to around 2,000 snaps that you got from Tillman, Velas, and Javonte played about 2,000 snaps combined. But ever since then, you've been banged up at receiver. I mean, you had in 22, Cedric Tillman, the tightrope surgery, the fluke thing against Akron, 23, bruise lost to a devastating injury against South Carolina, and 24, Squirrel was never right all year. So you haven't, the last 3 years, had all 3 starters healthy all year long. Like, that's not been the case. So maybe that it goes back to 2021 this year with those 3. But if you're you just are so thin there that the margin of error is so slim. And then I think you probably need one of Caleb Herring or Jordan Ross to break out in a James Pierce type deal, because I just think they're, especially without David Hobbs early, they're really young in the front seven, really talented. Like, I'm very high on a lot of these young guys that they are going to be in the rotation in 26 and 27. But I look at the defensive line across the whole, and I've called this a bridge year. It's probably the weakest starters Rodney Garner's had at Tennessee. I think it's a lot of like B+ guys. I think Dominic Bailey, Bryson Eason, Jackson Lloyd, Josh Josephs are all great leaders. Like, they're all guys you want leading your program. But there's a huge drop off from Omar Newman-Lott and James Pierce to Joshua Josephs and Bryson Eason. Like, it's a little bit different. It's not in terms of like it's a disaster in terms of the rest of the SEC, but you need Jordan Ross to make that year 2 James Pierce leap. You need one of those guys to go from like 2 sacks to 9 or 10. Like, I think they really need someone to emerge at the Leo spot this year. And you probably also need Jermod back sooner rather than later. Like, his injury stuff, you have no idea. But if Jermod, they take it slow, like, that might cost you a game or two, like, just because of how thin you are at corner a little bit. So I don't know. I think a whole heck of a lot of unknowns would have to be positive knowns, Jimmy Hyams.
I like the defensive line a lot more than you do. I do.
I like it in 26 and 27. I don't like it this year.
Oh, I do. I think it's a
strength. Who do you like?
You said they, as far as I'm concerned, they have 8 or 9 players on the defensive line that can win in the SEC. There are not a lot of teams in the SEC that can say that. Now, is there some more star power with some of those teams? Yes. But Tennessee they went 12 deep a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit there and I look at the names of the players that are coming back. I like Bryson Eason more than you do. I like Kyrie West more than you do. Weathersby can play. I think they're really good on the defensive line. Now, a year ago they gave up, was it 104 yards rushing a game? Something like that.
Something like that.
I think that number may be more than that, but not much more. No, I like this group. And I also think Rodney Garner's really good at developing players.
Yeah.
He plays a lot and then he develops them. So I think a lot of these guys that you're talking about are going to be a year better. I can't always say that about the offensive lineman at Tennessee, right? But I can say that about the defensive line. So I really like this defensive line unit. I think it's going to be one of the better units in the SEC.
I hope so, because I just look at 26 and 27. I think they might have 3 first rounders in 26 and 27 on the defensive line. I just don't think they have. I don't know. I love Isaiah Campbell. Love David Hobbs. I thought David Hobbs was in a position to be this year's Omar Newman-Lott. He was healthy out of the gate. I think the sky's the limit. I mean, who did Rodney compare him to? Richard Seymour, I think, this summer, where that's high praise. Rodney Garner throwing out Richard Seymour comparisons for David Hobbs. I mean, that's big time. And they need him back in a hurry, because are you rotating in David or Nathan Robinson and Josh Shell and Jamal Wallace behind Moy and Eason? That's dicey. That's just a lot of replacement level guys in the interior behind all those big time true freshmen. I don't think it's as. I think you really sneaky need David Hobbs back in a hurry.
Well, and I don't know when he's going to come back, but also Rodney Garner said he thought Bryson Eason was as talented as any defensive lineman he had. That's a strong statement.
Yeah. I love Bryson the person, and I think he's a good run defender. I just don't think the pass rush is there. Well,
no, and he's not. Look, what Omar Newman-Lott gave him, he was an exceptional pass rusher from the tackle position, from the inside. They won't have that. But I think their talent's plenty good enough to stop a lot of good teams in the league. I'll be very surprised if they don't stand up and perform at a high level on the defensive line.
Okay. Joey Aguilar or Nico Iamaleava, when you think about this year, do you think Nico would have had a better year than Joey's going to have, or do you think 24-year-old Aguilar is going to end up having a better season than Nico would have had this year in Tennessee?
I would expect Nico to have had the better year because he had been in the system. He started 1 year in the system. He was in the system the year before. He knew what to do. And I think he does have some ability. I think he's got some talent. Chase, the way I have described this to people that have asked me about the two, and by the way, UCLA certainly thought Nico was better. We'll see. But if you, on a 1 to 10 scale, if you thought last year Nico played at like a level of 7, and by the way, he was 10th in the SEC in passing yards per game a year ago. If you thought he was about a 7, then Aguilar has to be at least a 6. I don't expect him to be as productive as Nico. If he is, then Tennessee's got a really good chance to win 9. Still don't see him getting to 10. But if he is more productive than what Nico would have been, then that's a really good news for Tennessee. And I also think with that system that they have, that the longer you're in it, the better you get typically, which is why I think Nico would have had a pretty nice year this year. I thought he was overrated last year, but I think this year, I think he could have been really good in Tennessee's system.
I tend to agree. The one caveat I would throw out, I do think Aguilar is going to take chances Nico is not going to take. And if he turns those into positives, if Joey Aguilar his deep ball accuracy is really good for Tennessee this year, and he is able to hit 4 of those Mike Matthews, Chris Brazzell down the field shots in big games, then he has a better year. I don't think he's going to be as consistent as Nico would have been throughout the full season, but I do think the highest version of the 2 quarterbacks in this year alone, I think Aguilar has more juice down the field, and just that more, the gunslinger part of it is like Tennessee, they might need with these young receivers and how thin they are there. If I'm looking at a guy to maximize those young guys, it's the 24-year-old. It's the guy who's going to throw it up and give them opportunities. And we'll see if it works. We'll see if those are accurate. We'll see if Heupel trusts him to do it. But I do think there is that possibility.
The interesting thing about that is when you say take more chances, he threw 14 interceptions last year.
Oh, yeah.
Happy State. He threw 10 the year before. I don't think Heupel's ever had a quarterback that's on double digits in interceptions. I don't know about taking more chances, but I also think that he's got a chance to have more explosive plays by design and by accuracy. But he can't afford to be throwing picks. He can't afford to be throwing 14. That's too many. The other thing, though, that I do like about him, Chase, he's 6'3" and he's about 220. If it's 3rd and 3 and he keeps it on his own read, he can get you a first down.
Yeah.
I didn't have as much faith in Nico because he wasn't as strong. But this guy's a strong guy, and he'll put his head down, and he'll get that extra yardage, and he'll help move the chains. So I do like that aspect about him, and I like the aspect that when Heupel said he's very accurate throwing over the middle. I think that's going to be a key for this team to reclaim the middle of the field.
That was the most frustrating part about the Joe experience to me. Joe had the exact same size and weight as Cam Newton. And you saw him, remember the Alabama game where he started doing some read option stuff and he started lowering his shoulder, and Alabama was like, whoa, like no one wanted to tackle Joe Milton. Joe Milton is he's a beast, and he just didn't do it. He refused to do it. And it was one of those where you're like, man, if Joe was a willing runner like Hendon, it's just, Joe is always going to be the tantalizing guy. The Cowboys fans are now dealing with it where you're just, it should work. Joe is the one you're like, this should be an all-time great quarterback. Like this just all there, but it's not gonna happen probably. It's just never gonna all fit 100% right.
Well, the accuracy's not there. That's one concern about him. And yeah, he's got a cannon for an arm. Here's the other thing too. I don't know how dedicated he is to being a great quarterback. I think that's another part of it. I was watching his exhibition game, preseason game, or whatever you want to call it, with the Cowboys the other day. He took off running, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, where has that been? And he made a couple of nice moves running it. Now, he was a reluctant runner, but I also remember, was it Texas San Antonio where he kept it on the first play and went like 75 yards for a touchdown? Yeah. He had speed.
He just didn't do it. He didn't doing it.
No, he did not. He wanted to be a pocket passer. And if he had been a more willing runner, he would have been a more complete quarterback at Tennessee.
100%. Final 2 here for you, Jimmy. Would you be more surprised if Tennessee made it back to the college football playoff this year, or the Vols reached their first Final Four?
I would be more surprised if Tennessee got into the college football playoff.
Interesting.
And I say that, and I understand there are 12 teams that go.
Mm-hmm.
And in basketball, there are only 4 that get to the Final Four. I'm very high on this basketball team. Very high.
Yeah.
I think if Nate Ament ends up being as good as advertised and has a great year, and Jacoby Gillespie, the point guard that they got from Maryland, if both of them have great years, Tennessee will have a great year. I think all the other pieces are in place. I think the Jaden Carey guy they got from Vanderbilt is going to be solid. I like the inside players they have. They have the other pieces in place. But if they get big years out of the point guard and a big year out of Nate Ament, then I think they can make Final Four.
I agree with you. It sounds like you're also, it feels sacrilegious, Jimmy, to say this, but it's so weird. It's going to be weird not seeing Zakai lead Tennessee for the first time in 4 years. Like, it's just going to take some getting used to. But I think you're right there with me. I think Jacoby's going to be better than the best version of Zakai at Tennessee. I think he has that potential to be with Braden Smith, it's going to be hard for him to be a first team All-American, but he's going to push for it in this system and his usage and what Barnes is going to ask of him. I think Gillespie could be an absolute superstar this season.
I think you'll see him average more points than Ziegler. I think you'll see him being more of a scoring threat. I don't think he will accumulate as many assists or steals. But offensively, man, I think he's going to be exciting. And he's got some nice weapons around him.
Yeah.
Nate Ament being one of them. So I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I think their ceiling is higher than the Tennessee football team ceiling.
Do we see Rick Barnes adopt the Kim Caldwell hockey lines with his 15-man roster he's going to have for the first time in forever? Like, he's going 15 deep. Like, Berg isn't here yet, but he's got 15 scholarship guys this year.
Yeah, no, he's not going to do that. Nobody else is doing it either. It's that hockey line approach. I really like what Kim Caldwell did. I will tell you this, though. A longtime women's basketball coach said, that's all great and good, and it gets you to the Sweet 16, but you've never seen anybody run that style make the Final Four, and hardly any of them made the Elite Eight. So is there a ceiling when you do that? I don't know. I applaud what she was able to do, but I will admit I'm not a fan of subbing out 5 people after 60 seconds. I don't get that.
I mean, it's something to behold. My wife and I, when we were at one of the early games last year, it's one of those things you got to see in person. It's kind of jarring to see them out. And my wife pointed out, like, oh, here comes the next 5. Like, it's pretty wild to see him at the college level and the elite college level. It's a wild thing to witness.
It is. And one thing I don't really care about it. What if the starting 5 takes an 8-0 lead, and then 75 seconds later you put in the backups and they struggle? What's the point? I don't. Now, if you're down 8-0, okay, I get that. But I understand trying to keep players fresh, but nobody gets tired after 60 seconds. So
maybe she loves it's got to make the assistants and the scouts work, right? To see who's on, who's off, and to track throughout the game of like, oh, this line at work, because you're having to like, oh wait, who's on, who's off? Like, that's why I think being a hockey play-by-play guy, I couldn't imagine, Jimmy. Can you imagine being a hockey play-by-play guy and having to keep up with the line changes and always knowing who's on, who's off, scoring? I think it's the hardest job in sports. Like, I just don't know how they do it.
No, I don't know how they would keep up with all that either. It's
hard.
Yeah, that's why I never went into play-by-play. So I was afraid they said, you got to do a hockey game. No, I'm not.
I would love to get a Jimmy Hyams play-by-play go. What would you do at Tennessee if they offered you get one opportunity? You get one chance to do a play-by-play for any of the sports. What do you pick?
It would be football. I did high school football when I was in Louisiana. And I also did high school basketball. I did play-by-play for both. I did color for football. But if I had to pick one, it would be football, because at least you get to rest a little bit.
True.
As opposed to just firing out the constant action that you get with basketball.
I think I'd still take basketball just because you get through it. Like, there's no time to really think about if you mess up or anything like that. You don't have to like really hold your thoughts or anything like that. There's not a real cadence to it. You're just going. And I know it's 5 in, 5 out. I'm keeping track. And then if you have a game winner, you can lose your mind and everything. I don't know. I would probably pick basketball just because it would just be such a blitz and you'd be done. You're like, wow, it's kind of like us doing radio. It's like 2 hours and you're like, wow, where did the time go? And I just imagine that's what it's like calling a basketball game, where in baseball and football, it's like, that was a long time. That was a long event that I was a part of.
I never did baseball, never called baseball, played it for a long time, but never announced it. I mean, I did PA. That when you announce who the batter is or who the pitcher is, that doesn't count. So I actually enjoyed doing the play-by-play for football and basketball. That was a fun gig, but that was Well, that was many, many years ago.
What would be Jimmy Hyams' walk-up song?
Let's see. Billie Jean.
That might be the most jarring answer. I'm rarely stunned on this program, Jimmy Hyams, but Billie Jean being your walk-up song has got to be the most surprising answer I've gotten on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a big Michael Jackson guy?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
It could be Smooth Criminal. I could use that one too.
All right, just go. I believe you. You're going through the Rolodex. You're a Michael guy.
Third one might be Thriller.
Wow. That's a stunner.
Now,
have you been to a concert? Did you ever go to any of Michael's concerts?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't put Beat It in there because I just can't see. I mean, when Michael Jackson sang that song and he weighed about 125 pounds, I just didn't think he could beat up anybody. So that song did not. I didn't resonate with that one, but I liked a lot of his other songs.
Incredible stuff. That's funny. Final thing here, Jimmy Hyams. If you had to guess what the national conversation will be around Josh Heupel all season, what is your guess? When we come back in the end of the year, you're like, that was the prevailing thought. That's what everyone was talking about with Josh Heupel all fall. What do you think it's going to be?
The prevailing. Wow. Well, I'll say this, and I may end up being wrong about this. Tennessee has not run an up-tempo offense with any consistency the last 2 years. They haven't done it since Hendon Hooker. I think they're going to try it this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about Tennessee getting back to an up-tempo offense. I mentioned to you earlier about I don't think their talent level is going to blow anybody away, in particular in the SEC on offense, right? So you got to do something different to score points. And I think you got to do like you did in 2021. You got to go back to an up-tempo offense, try to catch people off guard, try to get some mismatches. What you want to do is have the defenders talking while you're snapping the ball, like they did against Alabama.
Yeah.
What you saw the last 2 years, in my opinion, was the quarterbacks would get the line of scrimmage, and just when you thought they might be snapping the ball, they're looking to the sideline, right? Well, you didn't see that with Hooker. You're snapping the ball with Hooker. And so I think that's going to be part of it is they get back to the up-tempo offense, which is going to be more confounding for the defenses. Now, I say that not knowing 100% whether Aguilar can run that. It's not easy to do. And you need to be you got to be a quick decision maker. You got to be able to read defenses quickly. You got to be confident what you're doing and assertive. So whether he can handle all that, I don't know. But I think that's going to be it, getting back to an up-tempo offense.
I love that. You know, it's also true. The last time Tennessee ran tempo, 24-year-old quarterback. This year, 24-year-old quarterback.
I hadn't thought about that. Good point, Chase. Yes.
And I would say the wild card here, to put a bow on it, Cooper Mays is a big part of it. And if Sam Pendleton doesn't settle in, that's just like the kind of thing that I just have circled on the periphery this season, where we all thought it was going to be William Satterwhite and you were just going to have your redshirt freshman plug and play to be your next 4-year guy. And it doesn't seem like he's winning the job. And you're going to move a guy in who started games at guard last year at Notre Dame, has not played center at all at the college football level. I don't know. Like, you hope that it goes well, but that could derail everything. If Pendleton cannot handle center and you have to move him back to guard, and that's kind of a mess, like that could derail everything with this offense.
Well, you're right. That's a very good point. Cooper Mays was very good at that. You have to be cerebral at that position. You have to be able to identify defenses at that position because you're kind of the quarterback of the offensive line. So, and if you're going to go up tempo, you're right about the center, but the offensive linemen have to be able to handle it as well. The receivers have to be able to adjust and handle it also. So it's a task to be able to do it. But, man, if you get it going, you know, we've seen what Tennessee did with Hendon Hooker in 2022. If you can master it, you make it extremely difficult on the defense. And I think that for Tennessee to get back to scoring in the 30s in conference games, they're going to have to go back to up-tempo.
I love it. Jimmy Hyams, what can the good folks check out from you? All of the internet, Off the Hook Sports, columns back there. What else?
Yeah, I'm writing columns and on Twitter. You can find my columns on Twitter. I'll post those, and we've got a significant number of followers on Twitter. So hopefully you can check that out. The other thing that I'm doing this fall is I'm doing a podcast with Heath Schuler. And we're going to launch those every Friday from 2 to 3 o'clock. And that'll also be on my Twitter account. And we look forward to talking with Heath, obviously a former star player at Tennessee. We'll talk about Tennessee. We'll analyze the Vols. We'll talk about the previous game, the upcoming game. It'll be a 1-hour podcast. So that's one of the other ventures that we're taking on this fall.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to hear Jimmy and Heath. And then you might get Michael Jackson references sprinkled in.
That'll be the background music. But and here's our name, In the Huddle with Heath and Hyams. So that's what we're calling it.
I like it. In the Huddle with Heath and Hyams. I like it. Jimmy Hyams, thank you so much for the time. It's always great reconnecting, and we'll have to check back in again soon.
Chase, I appreciate it. Have a good time.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.